What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 11 of season 1 of Solo Leveling. We'll be going full spoilers ahead, so hopefully you've watched this episode. We're going to do a real quick recap. It should be fairly quick because this was just a fight episode, basically. So Jinwoo has gone to the location where he'll be doing his job class change. When he initiates it, it opens up a dungeon, and he enters the dungeon. So he is met by a knight that he has to take out, who gives him a little bit of a challenge because he's trying to find out how to kill it with his dagger. The armor's blocking it, so he goes hand to hand with it, is able to take it out. After that, he is met with more enemies he has to fight in the dungeon of different varieties. There's more like stealth type, assassin type enemies he has to fight, knights and mages. So he's basically trying to configure what he needs to prioritize with each type of enemy type, with agility and with strength and perception and stuff like that. So yeah, he's just taking stuff out, trying to manage his resources. He can't heal or use his recovery in this dungeon as well, which is an important point. So he's trying to be careful with how he does things.
He also can't leave until he wins.
He also can't leave until he wins, and he also, in his first fight, used one of his abilities when it didn't work. So he kind of is reminded that, he can't be doing stuff like that. So yeah, he ends up getting through the hall, ends up going in the door. There's also a couple of flashes here and there throughout this episode that I won't go too far into, but a lot of those S-rank people are going to Jeju Island to do some reconnaissance. We don't get full details on that, but they are actively doing it in this episode. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that leads to something. The show has a habit of giving us little tidbits of things happening outside of Jinwoo's immediate story that I'm sure will all culminate to something more important eventually, but it's really interesting the way they do it because they don't give us much.
Also, the construction company and the two sons.
Jinho. You're talking about that, right?
The
kid.
Yeah. The rich kid and his brother. Because his brother's trying to make a guild, and he is also secretly, even though his brother's like, I know you've been buying dungeons. Like, don't get in my way, basically. So.
Yeah. That's another thing that pops up that's not related to the very straightforward story that happens here. So Jinwoo goes into the main room. He's met with Igris, the Bloodred, I think its name was, which is basically a red knight, and in difficulties well read. It's menacing. They fight. He quickly finds out that they are evenly matched in terms of speed, but Igris is more powerful than he is,
and experienced,
and more experienced. So, he's gonna have to earn this. He's fighting with it for a while. As you said when we're watching it, the best animated fight scene we've seen in the show so far. He's trying to use the dagger. He can't really get a hit in, and when he does, it doesn't do much because the armor's too powerful. So he eventually goes to hand again, like he did with the knights before, and Igris matches him on that, dropping its weapons and fighting him hand to hand, in which it seems to be a lot better at it than he is. He's basically in survival mode while they're fighting. It's flinging him all over the place. It juggles him at one point in one spot, which is wild looking. And it's basically just kicking his ass. He's trying to figure out how he's even supposed to be able to fight this thing. It ends up culminating to him getting launched onto the throne, and while he's in a weakened state, Igris gets its sword ready to slice him down. He's able to catch the blade. Also important to say that something happened earlier that I didn't mention really. He used gear for the first time. He was able to get some armor. He equipped it. Basically is the knight's armor, but it's invisible, so it's like...
He's glammed it naked, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He went to the options, turn helmets off visually. Or he's playing any modern-day faux MMO where it's just not a physical thing that you see. He catches the blade, and he freaks out, saying he hasn't lost yet, and he's able to get the dagger in through the crack where the neck is at. Oh, stabbed in the eye first. I forgot about that part. Yeah, stabbed in the eye, which was able to kind of weaken it, and then eventually gets the dagger into its throat, killing it. And he has defeated it, but the dungeon is not over yet. He is rewarded. He gets the helmet from Igris, which is very fitting, very video game-like.
A lot of money.
A lot of money, a teleportation stone that he can't put in his inventory. He's trying to figure out why he would just be given that and not being able to keep it for later. And what else did he get? He got a move that he's going to figure out later.
Yes.
And there's a fourth thing. Was that the teleportation stone?
It was some sort of, I don't know if it was an item or if it was just a passive, but it looked like it gave him strength, another stat, and some hit points or something like that.
I know the helmet had something like that. 15% damage.
It also had stats. Yeah, and it was an S rank item.
So he got some stuff.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out why he has teleportation stone. It's because a new challenge is arising where he has to basically survive for a certain amount of time. And it spawns a bunch of enemies. The enemies he fought before, nothing too crazy, but just a lot of them. So it's an endurance run. He tries to stealth to buy himself some time. Good job on that, because every time I play games where people should be just buying time for objectives, they'll run in and just die. So he's got the right strategy. I like to see it. But a mage casts something that reveals it basically to everybody. He takes damage. And has him wondering, maybe he needs to use the teleportation stone now and come back to this later, which is basically like a checkpoint when it gave that to him. He goes to use it, and he gets a hammer to the arm, dropping his teleportation stone. And anything else at the end of the episode? Cliffhanger, yeah. So yeah, there's people going to Jeju Island for some reason. Reconnaissance or something. We'll find out more on that. And
the classes dude basically said, like, since the last time he went, like, the fight just wasn't over for him. It never ended. So he's obsessed.
Yeah, I just need that to mean something. It needs to go somewhere, because they keep talking about that island. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but like, what?
We saw it in the first episode.
Yeah,
that was it. So.
What are we doing with it? Like, it'll pay off eventually, I hope. But right now, I'm just like, do something with it then. But otherwise, crazy fight. The whole episode was just a big fight. So what do we think?
Yeah, well, I mean, outside of the little bits of information in the world happening outside of the fight, which obviously is all just like breadcrumbs towards bigger objectives, obviously. The dungeon itself was probably one of the most entertaining episodes I feel like I've watched for this show, in terms of action and animation and stuff like that. They've done it a couple times, like when he fought the giant snake. The animation was really good for that, and there was another fight. But a lot of times it's fine, like it's not bad or anything. But like it's to be expected, and every once in a while they pull out some good animation for a moment. This whole episode basically was just full of it, which was awesome. And if we get to these culmination points where we just have these awesome spectacles of fights, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it was done well for sure.
Yeah, the big reason I watch anime instead of read manga is because I like watching the animation. So
yeah,
this was very well choreographed, very well done. They played with a lot of different perspectives, which was a lot of fun too. Like the first person stuff from both people, which was cool. The hand-to-hand part where he's like juggling him too, that was like insane looking, in a good way. And
even the scene right before that set Igris off to do that was when he's in the air spinning around, and they kicked him in the side or whatever. And even that looked really cool, the way they did that.
Yeah, it was neat seeing the perspective of him like being flung basically, but then also like when he was like rapidly slashing at Igris, and he was just like dodging all over the place. Like, this is a very cool like perspective they're showing us.
Yeah, the scene where he did get flung, and we saw from the POV perspective, was cool because it gave us that disorienting feeling, and you could see him getting like flying at him, and he's right in his face. So yeah, and
then the fight was done with mostly continuous scenes. There wasn't a lot of repeat. There was the typical like punch real fast thing, but they didn't hang on it for too long, and it was effective the way they used it. So I loved the fight. It was like really fun to watch. So I am gonna need this guy to start taping teleportation stones to his hands, though. This is twice he's dropped one now. He tends to do things in habits or in repeat. He's been in 2 dungeons now where humans got murdered. He's dropped 2 teleportation stones. This guy's just a bad luck charm walking around.
For a dude who's leveling up and getting more powerful, yeah, he doesn't learn a whole lot.
No. Maybe he should put some points into intelligence. So, but yeah, other than that, it was a fun episode. I am curious now what the solution to the dungeon is, because obviously the dungeon was like, you can leave now, but here is an endless wave. Have fun.
Yeah.
So
I'm also wondering about the job change.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't get resolved. He's there for that.
Unless it happens when he leaves, and like maybe because I think right now he's the reward for the waves was like expertise points or something like that, and maybe it just gives him more the longer he stays there.
Yeah, probably.
So that's the only thing I can think of, because if I'm thinking about it as a video game, that would make sense. So
yeah,
but yeah, fun time. They don't have to do these kind of episodes often, but if they all look like that, they're worth the wait, in my opinion. So
yeah, I like the episode. I appreciate that it was just straightforward a fight episode. Every once in a while you need one where you just get a cool fight scene, and I think they delivered. It's not quite like Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen. That's a high bar, but I mean it was better than a lot of things I've seen. So they did a really good job. The choreography was really good. The animation was smooth. Not a whole lot of repeated stuff, like you said. So it was a lot of like unique animations that were happening during it. It was fun to watch, exciting. I do like at the beginning him trying to figure out how to fight things. That's a little more interesting than him just flying through and killing things. Yeah. Having to get rid of his weapon twice. The way he killed the knight by taking his dagger after he stabbed it, and then it won't work for him, so it reset to his inventory, so he was able to get it and kill him. Basically a fluke. Was interesting. I didn't see it go in that direction. He even acknowledges it was a fluke. I didn't think he was going to die, but it's interesting that that fight was not in his favor at all.
right.
But he got rewarded for it. And I'll be curious to see how those rewards are used, because the show's pretty good about when he gets things in his inventory, he does use them and explore them. It's not just
They're relevant.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to for sure. But yeah, it's kind of hard to think of really what else to say outside of I thought the fight scene was really good. There's a lot of really cool parts. The design of Igris was pretty cool. Very slender knight, very agile.
He came off as like a Souls type person.
Yeah,
almost.
Or Vindictus.
He's a bit clean for it, but but
very very Korean.
Oh, definitely.
Or Asian, Japanese in design, but definitely cool. Just like when the knights were fighting him, the way they're swinging the sword and stuff almost reminded me of like a samurai. I was like, those guys are fucking up his ass. And then, I'm curious. I need more info on the whole Jeju Island thing. And I know they'll give it to us eventually. They're not just doing this for no reason. But every time these scenes pop up, I do feel myself waiting to get back to the story I am invested in, and not this hint of where things are going.
Right.
And they have a real big habit in this show of doing it almost every episode. There's like a switch over to like an office where people say something real fast and then it goes back. So I would like that to start meaning something soon. And it will all retroactively mean something once we get that, but I'm just being impatient about it. But yeah, overall good episode. Really curious to see how it is resolved in the next episode. Does he stay and fight? Does he teleport out? He'll probably teleport out, but and what job is he getting? What's the class change? I'm really curious about that as well, if he even gets it, and where things are going, because there's a lot of loose ends right now, a lot of things in play that I'm waiting for something to take hold and actually move forward. So I'll be happy when that happens, but I'm happy because this episode was worth watching. It was definitely a really cool fight to watch. So, and like you said, the fight scenes are always pretty good. They're never bad. But if we get episodes like this every once in a while where we get a really cool fight scene, it's definitely worth watching. So it was definitely cool to just see how much work they put into it. So, yeah. Anything else?
I think the only other comment I was going to make on the fight scene was it was a pretty decent blend of 3D and 2D as well, because I think they handled that really well.
Right in the beginning of the episode, I noticed the knight had some 3D animation happening. I was like, this is probably going to be a big fight scene, huh? Because they wouldn't put the work into the animation like they were doing unless there's something coming, and it ended up being...
Well, the 3D is good for them, too, when they were doing all those panning shots and stuff. It's easier than doing 2D and cheaper.
Yeah. I've also noticed, too, like... a lot of scenes in like animes where like there's a lot of people on screen at once. It's almost easier to just bring in 3D models to do that instead of like animating individual characters in a scene, which makes sense. You just program the 3D models, tell them to program to run.
Copy paste.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and they're getting better and better at blending the two together. So
yeah, this wasn't bad.
No,
I noticed it was 3D, but it looked like the rest of the show. So yeah, it wasn't bad. So. Yeah. Anything else?
Better than they did with Nier, because I think it's the same studio. So.
Dude, way better. Nier's CG was horrendous.
Well, I think it was straight from the PS3 game, but yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fucking horrible. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it was good.
All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What were your biggest takeaways? Anything we missed? Throw it down in the comments. We can talk about it. And what are you hoping for when it comes to the next episode? Unless you know, please no spoilers for us. I have to say that every episode because I don't want, even innocently enough, someone getting excited and going like, oh, this thing's about to happen. So respectfully, we want to go in blind.
Well,
so
and you never know who's going to click on this. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Or, someone who's actually an asshole and it's like, I'm going to try and ruin this, in which I will read like 3 words of that and delete it. So, but yeah, I appreciate people just letting us experience the show and enjoying it organically. So, but yeah, stay tuned. We just did a review for Delicious in Dungeon episode 12 and this, and then new season's coming up. We got new shows we'll be watching when those roll out. Some shows I would like to experiment checking out, see if we like them, and eventually we're going to get to Tengoku and finish it because that's a really promising one that we just haven't finished. So, but yeah, until then, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy, and we'll talk to you guys later.